thank you for joining me today. Today I have Mr. Ken Oliver and Miss Linda Baker. Would y'all like to introduce yourselves further?
Go ahead, Linda.
Hi, I'm Linda Baker. I'm the Chief Development Officer at Glenwood.
And
Awesome.
I'm Ken Oliver, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer at Glenwood.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. I think that having Glenwood as part of our neighborhood series is truly something special, and I just want to thank you for your time today. So for anybody who's watching who might not know what Glenwood is, would you like to just give them a little tidbit of what y'all do over there?
Okay, I can start. Linda, you can contribute to it as you will. We've been around since 1974 here in Birmingham, and for many, many years, we existed mostly out on our campus off Sacred Heart Road, out behind Liberty Park off 459. We have a 363-acre campus here where we have we have schools and day programs and residential programs for both children and adults here. And then about 3 years ago, we wanted to take our services further into the greater Birmingham community. So we had a capital campaign, which Linda headed up, and raised some additional funding so that we could secure facilities and develop programs specifically in Avondale, because we targeted that as an area we wanted to be in because it's close to all the downtown services and much more convenient for people to get to who might need our services than coming all the way out here. So we established a children's center and moved a testing and diagnostics center and counseling center from the campus over there to that Avondale area. And we're just excited to be there. But Glenwood has a rich history, mostly in the autism community, but we do other things as well. And we have enjoyed a tremendous amount of community support over the years and still do, and always looking for ways that we can meet a need within the community. And our programs there in Avondale are designed to help do that. And I'll let Linda talk more about perhaps fundraising or some of the other things that she's in charge of, and something I might have left out of my little soliloquy there.
I would say, thank you so much for having us today, Joan. We appreciate being your neighbor here in Avondale. And Glenwood has been around for a really long time, not as long as some others, but we are best known for our services in autism, but we actually do help people with all neurodevelopmental disorders. And the youngest person we serve can be 18 months old, and the oldest person we currently serve is in his mid to late 60s. We're better known for our residential care, which is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, almost every day of the year. But we see more people in this clinic over here in Avondale, just around the corner from you, where people come in for an evaluation or a diagnosis, and also for different kinds of therapy. And it's just, I've been at Glenwood 5.5 years, and it's just an amazing, wonderful organization. A lot of folks don't know about us because they haven't needed our services yet. But 1 in 54 children born today will be diagnosed with autism. And I believe it's 1 in 20 children with, in school age, will have a mental health disorder that will impair their functioning while they're in school. So the need for the services is something that just really continues to grow. And it's really exciting and very rewarding to be able to match those individuals with resources that can improve their lives.
Absolutely, and I'm very happy to have you in Birmingham serving the community, and even more happy to have you in Avondale. I saw that you serve around 80,000 people in the community, and that's spectacular. Also, I wanted to say, we here at Avondale, we serve a lot of children and like parents, and we have a huge a kids department at our library, and we often see a lot of children that we're not sure if they have been diagnosed, and we have parents with questions about that. Is there anything that you could maybe possibly share about the early signs of autistic behavior?
Yes, if a child is not meeting the milestones that most children are reaching early on, it's parents often want to get them tested. One of the most common signs, I believe, is delays in speech. If a child is not speaking, if they have difficulty with impulse control, non-compliant behavior, sometimes aggressive behaviors, or if they're withdrawn or just kind of not responsive, to parents. Sometimes a child may not talk, but you can still tell, that they're responsive to you and things like that. But sometimes unusual reactions to sensory stimulation, such as touch or textures or noise, those are kind of some of the symptoms as well. We talk about the number of people with autism, but no two are alike. That's why it's called a spectrum. So people can be incredibly different. But the Children's Center that we have here in Avondale actually focuses on applied behavior analysis, which is very well known for helping children with autism. And it's intensive one-on-one therapy. And I watched a dad cry not long ago talking about his son. And the dad has his life's living is talking to people. And he said his son would not look at him and make eye contact with him and wouldn't talk to him. And so it was especially difficult for him. And he talks about the services that the therapist did, with the son and with the family, that is improving his child's opportunities to, communicate with his family. And then you'll hear other families that will say, my child was not talking. And we had one parent who came back on a Monday morning and said, this weekend, my child said, mama, dada, and baby. And these parents cry. We kind of take a lot for granted. But sometimes people come to us to learn their child doesn't have autism. So, or sometimes it's another disorder. So getting that diagnosed early and getting treatment as early as possible really can help put a child on a path to success.
I might just add, there's no cure, there's no known cure, but our therapists, our teams help children learn how to cope and succeed with the condition, and they help families learn how to help the children cope and adjust, and behavior can be improved and learning can be improved, and the ability to be successful in life can be enhanced by the early intervention. The evidence is very, very convincing that the earlier you intervene in a child's life with things like speech therapy and occupational therapy and intensive behavior therapy, the better that child can do as they advance. And they can sometimes be mainstreamed into a special ed program. So it's a growing field, and we're learning more about it. Our therapists and our teams are cutting edge in terms of their knowledge and capabilities, and we have an excellent team of board certified behavior analysts helped out by registered behavior technicians, all of whom have undergone extensive training and testing in order to get where they are, and then they can apply that to these children and the families. So they have family meetings, family to see. And we've had all kinds of success stories like Linda was talking about. We've been open there, I guess, for a little over 2 years, and we've had some interruptions because of the COVID crisis that we're seeing patients there every day now. So.
Well, you're providing an invaluable service to the community, and I guess I want to touch on how are you, what is your funding process like? How are you funding all of these amazing services for these children and adults?
Well, many people have private insurance. Either they purchase it or they have it works. That pays for a lot of these services. some people qualify for Medicaid reimbursement, and both private insurance and Medicaid in Alabama pay for the behavior therapy. Now, they didn't until about 2 or 3, 4 years ago. They started, they just instituted that. And then some people pay privately, or they'll make up the difference that insurance doesn't pay from private funds. And then, of course, Linda heads up a very that's ongoing here, because we're never paid enough to cover all of the expenses of the services we provide. So we rely on fundraising and grants and all sorts of sources of additional private donations that help fund the services. So it's a combination of things. And we're fortunate to have a lot of support from the greater.
I would say we grow and expand through capital campaigns. The ability to open 3 buildings and more expand services in Avondale was done through the 9th and largest capital campaign that Glenwood has had. We raised $10 million, and if we had raised 10 million more, we could have used every penny of it because there's such a great need. But so in addition to our annual fundraising, that's we do that every so often. Then we have an awesome junior board that has a big event each year. We have a golf tournament that's been, we sell pecans. A lot of people know about pecans for autism. I've been selling those for many years, and they make great corporate gifts. They make great gifts for family and friends, and good for cooking and good for eating yourself. So the funding, Ken is correct. I was looking at some notes from talking to some of our parents recently, and one of them said our job is to make, our goal really is to help everybody have a happy life. And so that's the way, if you can talk to people about the impact that their support can help, it makes a big difference. I talked with the dad of one of our students that we've had for a few years the other day, and he voluntarily said, "You say that Glenwood changes lives," and he said, "Glenwood saved our lives." And he talked about a time when his son was in his mid-teens and had been diagnosed with autism, much earlier. And he said, our family was just in a really tough spot, and we called Glenwood, and this young man lives with us and goes to school with us. And he said, it's really saved our family's life. And he said, my son has taught me so much. He's extremely intelligent in ways I'm not. And he's, but then again, he might walk out in front of a car. And he said, so having Glenwood to help, at that very difficult time and get us on a path where he is happy and has friends makes a big difference.
I love all these stories of like testimonies of families. You can really tell that it's your life's passion, and I believe you are saving lives. And I imagine that must be a little bit more difficult or challenging during COVID. How are you operating right now? Are you operating differently than say? I'm sure you're operating differently now that we're during COVID. And in what ways?
Yeah, I'll start, Linda. You can. We've been through a few phases with COVID. We first of all, in mid-March, we shut down all of our outpatient activities, which included everything that we're doing there in Avondale temporarily in response to the emergency declarations that came out. And we quarantined, so all of our testing and diagnostic and counseling and all of that ceased, and our children's center there ceased operations for a few weeks. We quarantined all of the residents. We have about 125 residents who live in homes throughout the Birmingham community, both here on campus and throughout Birmingham, in what's commonly known as group homes. And we quarantined all of those people in the homes with their exclusive staff. So the only people they would be interacting with is the people that are already providing staff services in those homes to limit the exposure and to try to avoid anybody becoming infected. And we're still doing that. We've got all of those folks. We have loosened up a little. We went for several weeks and didn't even allow family visits or family interactions. We were so concerned about the potential for exposure. We've gradually loosened some of that. We're allowing and encouraging family visits with their family member, and we've even gone back to allowing those people who have families that want to take them home for a weekend visit. That's our common practice. So we started doing that again. And we reopened the Children's Center services as well as our counseling and therapy. We were doing a little bit of work online with telemedicine with the counseling and therapy services and children's services, but that's not nearly as effective as being face-to-face in the same area as someone. So we reopened those services for on-site visits and counseling and therapy and testing. About a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago now, and we're gradually almost back to the precautions and sanitizing and face masks and all the things that we're all learning to do to avoid potential infection or exposure to the infection. And
I would say that it has been difficult on the people we serve and the direct support professionals who take care of the folks in the home. But I'm just super impressed with the way that our team has all come together and talked a lot, and departments have worked together. So some of the programs that were suspended sent their staff into the homes to let them work and be extra hands since we needed more hours there, and just coming up with creative ways to keep people entertained while they can't go out and do some of the things they normally do. And then parents, of course, have missed seeing their children on those regular visits that they get to see them, whether they're young children or grown adults, but they understand and they appreciate the efforts that Ken has led with this management team to keep everybody safe and well.
Yeah, it's definitely a different time. It's definitely, as you were saying, a day-by-day situation, I think, for everybody, and a day of sacrifice, of personal sacrifice, and creativity, like coming up with different ways of how to operate. But I think as long as we all stay safe and realize we're all in this together, I think that we're going to get through it.
True.
And talking about something a little bit lighter out of COVID, how are you personally maintaining, what are the things that bring you joy, and how are you making time for them when COVID gets hectic? When life is hectic?
Well, I can answer for me. I get great joy out of my family and having time doing things with family, and that's been curtailed somewhat. My wife and I have 3 children, and they all have children, and we love spending time with them in fairly large group gatherings. We've just not done that since March, and we would normally do that every 2 or 3 weeks at least. And so, we're seeing them a few at a time in very controlled conditions so that we're all being safe and keeping other people safe. So that's a sort of a compromise personally that I guess all of us have had to make. And I love doing things outdoors, so I'm still able to do that. I like to tend around the yard in the garden. My wife loves for me to get out of the house and do that, so I'm not in her way. But we're still able to do that. And then I love work. I love what I do at work, and so I get a lot of joy out of here. And we went for a few weeks of working sort of a combination of at home and back at the office, and we've got most of our staff back here now in the office most of the time. We still do some things remotely and from home, but I like being here and interacting with the great professional staff that we have here at Glenwood. So.
Now, yesterday I photographed Nakalula Falls from underneath the falls. I have a habit of taking flower pictures, so I've increased my my time photographing flowers. I also have probably watched a little more TV than I used to, and I've always been a big book reader, so a little more reading than usual.
That's nice. I love flowers. I actually follow a few flower pages on Twitter because I'm always like, in between the news, it's nice to see pictures of dogs and flowers.
Who can argue with those, right?
So I guess a library question. What are some of your favorite books, or what are you reading currently? And if books are not really, for some people, books aren't really their thing. Are there any films that you really love? What kind of media do you consume, and maybe it's been influential in your life?
You want to go first, Linda?
Go ahead, Ken.
Okay. Well, reading, I have always been I majored in history and political science in college, and I love reading historical novels, sometimes based on truth or sometimes fiction. And I've always been a big fan of that. And I just recently finished a book by William Safire, who I think he was something in the Kennedy administration in the early 60s, and then he became an author. And I picked up this book by accident, just lying on a table at my house. I hadn't seen it before, and it was written in 1977, and it was called Full Disclosure, and it was this fictional intrigue about what goes on around the presidency, and all these people were maneuvering around for power and influence. And I got engrossed in that book and could not put it down until I finished it. And I'm reading a book now called Into the Raging Sea. And I'm sorry, I don't remember the author's name, but it's about the sinking of a huge container ship off the Bahamas in 2015, and the loss of all the people on board. And it's an unusual book for me to read, but it was given to me by one of my children, and I am engrossed in it, and all the details of what happened and how they made some mistakes that led to the loss of that 730-foot ship in the middle of the ocean because they got too close to a hurricane. So anyway, I guess I have an eclectic taste when it
Opposite from Ken. I have been an avid reader since I was very small, and in second grade I was going to be an author. That hasn't happened yet, but I have always read lots of books, and I read lots of variety, and I'm that person who keeps at least 3 books going at a time. There's kind of one in every room. And at the moment, and they kind of carry a theme though. There's one for personal inspiration. There's one that's just for fun, and there's something that's usually more work related. And that personal motivation at the moment is the Book of Psalms, finding a lot of comfort there these days. Then I accidentally ran across a movie back in January called who were humans called human computers working for NASA. And just a couple of months ago, the main character in that book passed away, and so there's been more out about her. But I went looking for the book because the book is always much better than the movie. So I'm reading that book right now, and haven't gone very far. And then my book for work at the moment is 10 Things Every Child with Autism Wishes That You Knew. So that's what's on the shelf right now, and collecting Dr. Seuss books for the grandbaby that's on the way.
Oh, it's your first grandbaby.
My third.
Your third. Well, still just as exciting, I'm sure, as the first.
Their first, my third.
You didn't mention any of those trashy books you're always reading.
So I want to thank both of you for joining me today. This has just been an absolute treat. I think my favorite part of this project is getting to know the nonprofits and businesses in the area and meeting new friends. So I want to thank you for this opportunity because I learned a lot. And is there anything that you would like to share more about the organization and in ways that like maybe the community can help right now during this difficult time in our community.
Joan, I would like to say that one program we've not talked about is we have something we call our Daniel House program. And a lot of people don't know about that, but it's usually 24 boys ages 6 to 13. They generally stay with us about 13 months and have usually been in 7 foster homes before they come to live at Glenwood. And some of these boys are checked in, by families for having severe emotional and behavioral disorders, but most of them come from, other sources and have witnessed major trauma, had major trauma in their life. And so our goal with them is to teach them that anything life throws their way, that they can be successful. And so most of them go back into back with extended family or foster homes, and very rewarding work. Ken mentioned 2 schools, and one of those schools is for them. Their education is more about catching them up. Their IQs are more typical of the population. We serve people with autism on the most severe end of the spectrum in residential care. But these boys, very rewarding work to take them and help them know that, they can be loved and they can be successful. And these boys like to find Ken in the hall and make appointments with him. So we help them with that.
They're always coming up and saying, Mr. Ken, you need to give this staff a raise. I don't know how much they're coached in doing that, but yeah.
It sounds like you serve a wide variety of community members, and that's just amazing. Do you take volunteers, and how can, I guess, through fundraising, are you having any fundraisers coming up, or?
We do have some volunteers. It's been hard to have volunteers lately. Group projects that can do trail work or property work, things like that, are easier to plug in than hands-on work sometimes. So people can find us on the website at glenwood.org and send us an email or make a phone call. And then as far as fundraisers go, we had a golf tournament that was rescheduled for late September, where we sold out with teams, but we can always use some whole sponsors for that. And then pecans will be coming up pretty soon, so that may be one of the easiest ways. We will have an online store, but they're also sold in some of the local supermarkets and banks, so people can find. And a lot of people know about the pecans. They know more about pecans than they do about autism. So,
and we're open to setting up selling sites out in communities. If we had an area there in Avondale, the business section of Avondale, near your library or down a little bit further, where we could set up a selling site for the pecans, that would be interesting for us to do. We'd love to do it. We're excited about Avondale. It's a vibrant, lively community, and we're just getting our feet under us there to be able to expand out and develop relationships. But as we get back to what we used to think of as normal, we love community outings for the people that we serve, and we'll take them out into the community with staff. And so there's lots of things around Avondale, the park and the library, some of the business areas there, that we look forward to being able to do that. And we've got a vocational program for some of our adults that we train them and coach them on how to hold a job. So we may be calling on some businesses in the Avondale area. Again, this will be months from now, probably, before we get back to normal with that program. But we're always looking for job placements with coaching and assistance to help people earn a living and earn money. And they make some of the best employees that anybody can have, because it's so meaningful to them in their lives to be able to start developing that sense of independence and value, as evidenced by earning money and being paid for it. It just means the world to them. So we may be calling on people and asking for them to consider some of those kind of things as we go forward in the future. And if, as Linda said, we're always open to donations and usually can have some volunteer work. As she said, we've got trails out here on campus. We've got a lake. We've got all kinds of outdoor things that people could help us with maintenance and upkeep. And we quite frequently have a group of people here on a Saturday for a few hours doing some of that sort of thing from a local church or some business groups or whatever. So we're always open to that and would welcome the opportunity to work with people who want to donate some time.
And the next thing coming to Avondale is an arts center for our folks. And we could really use art supplies and musical instruments and things like that. So,
as well as artists. If there are artists around that want to get involved with us, Linda's the contact person, and she has somebody on her staff that's going to start doing that. Yeah, we've got a set of plans. Part of our capital campaign that Linda referenced earlier was money for an art center in the community. We've got space there to launch that project there. So that's exciting for us.
yes.
That is exciting. I think you're in a perfect location. Avondale has no shortage of artists or people who want to be involved in the community. That's something I really love about this neighborhood is, you know, we have Crestwood and everything around us too, and downtown is just the lively energy and the willingness to help people, and people really come together, and we're just so happy to have you here. And thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Thanks for
having
having
us. Thank you.